Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Creole Culture Channel, where we drop facts and we don't care about people's opinions. We don't care about people's feelings. We don't care if people's feelings get hurt. We don't care over here around these parts. We drop facts, we drop knowledge, and we don't care how people feel about it. And that's just what it is over here. But in today's video, and since we're in the holiday season, particularly right now, we're in the October Halloween season. I figured it was the perfect timing for me to release this video. Hurry up, make the video, get it out the way, get it done and over with. I told you guys that I would be uploading this particular video right here, and that after I uploaded this video, I would be taking a break from this channel for I don't know how long, maybe a couple months. And that's exactly what's going to be happening. I'm going to upload this video. We're going to talk about this topic. And after this upload, I'm going on a break for God knows how long. I don't know how long I'll be taking my break off of YouTube, but I will be taking a break. I will be going back to the drawing board and coming up with new ideas and brainstorming up some new ideas for this channel. So when I come back, I'll be sharp and better than ever and ready to go. But in this video, as y'all can see from the title, we're going to be talking about voodoo. We're going to be talking about Louisiana voodoo in general. We're going to talk about the truths. We're going to talk about the myths. We're going to talk about the misconceptions that people have about voodoo. We're going to talk about the truth about voodoo. And it fits perfectly within the season that we're in currently right now. We're in the Halloween season. A lot of people, certain Christians in particular, they see Halloween as an evil, demonic sort of holiday. And a lot of people associate voodoo with Halloween. And they have every right to associate voodoo with Halloween, because voodoo and Halloween actually do have a lot of similarities. And we're also going to talk about that in this video. We're going to talk about the similarities between Halloween and voodoo. And we're also going to talk about the history of Halloween and the truth about Halloween as well, and the misconceptions that people have about Halloween. And we're going to talk about all of that in this video. I've seen multiple different Creole channels on YouTube, Louisiana Creole channels on YouTube. Most of them I'm subscribed to. There's one woman that I'm no longer subscribed to, and I don't really want to talk about that too much, but most of the Creole channels on YouTube, I'm subscribed to pretty much all of them that I've come across. But I've never seen not a single Creole themed platform on YouTube actually talk about this topic and this subject, which is surprising to me that I haven't seen not a single one bring this subject up, talk about it. You know, as a matter of fact, most of the Creole platforms I've seen on YouTube thus far, they only talk about Christianity. They only embrace Christianity, and they talk about Creoles and Christ. That's what I'm seeing right now with the Louisiana Creole community on YouTube. No knock to them. I don't knock anybody's religion or belief system. I'm not knocking nobody's stuff. I just don't want nobody knocking what I like and the things that I like. And there's things about Christianity that I like as well, because anybody who understands history and understands social studies knows that Louisiana voodoo has Christian aspects within it, because it is a blend. It is a mixture of multiple different cultures blended into one, which equals Louisiana voodoo. But I'm seeing the Louisiana Creole community on YouTube. They talking about Creoles and Christ, and there's Creoles and Christ, and that's cool and all. But I haven't even seen none of y'all even talk about our culture. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is our culture. Christianity and Catholics, and that's a part of our culture as well, because that's what Louisiana voodoo is. It is a blend, like I said. But if you really, really, really want to get into our culture, it's Louisiana voodoo, because you're mixing both aspects of who we are and putting it into one. You're not just I'm not just embracing just one aspect of my lineage and my culture, because that's what religions are. That's what religion and spirituality is. Religion and spirituality is normally and typically tied down, or it traces back to a specific ethnic group, a specific race, a specific group of people. Christianity, normally and typically, you would think of white Europeans. When you think of voodoo or voodoo, which is the real name of it, of where it originated, when we're going to talk about that. Voodoo is the new version. Okay, but voodoo, we're going to talk about all of that in this video. Some of y'all might already understand the history behind it, and you might just be interested in what I got to say. But when we think of voodoo, we think of Black African people, or when we think of voodoo in general, people think of Black African people. And that's another reason why it's been demonized so much, because of white supremacy, prejudiced people who clearly have an issue with African people and their religious concepts and their spirituality concepts. So they demonized it. Right? And there's a reason why I decided to post up this video and make this video in the month of October, in the Halloween season. Obviously, there's a reason why I chose to do that. Perfect season for me to make this video, talk about it. And in the video, we're also going to talk about the similarities of Halloween and voodoo. Halloween is a modern day celebration or holiday. Voodoo is an actual religion and spiritual system. But Halloween and voodoo are both they both fall underneath the bracket of culture, and actually they both fall underneath the bracket of spirituality. Even Halloween is still a part of spirituality. Okay? Now, most people, Christians in particular, they would probably even agree with that. But the difference is they would claim that Halloween is just demonic. And rightfully so, it could be considered demonic and evil. But when you look at the actual origins of Halloween, when you look at the actual truth behind it, there's nothing evil and there's nothing demonic about it when you actually research it for real. Okay? When you actually look at the origins of it, when you actually look at the real truth behind it. But because the way it's presented, it comes across as something evil, demonic. Same thing with voodoo, the way it's presented to people, right? It's all in the presentation. It's all in the way it's presented that throws people off, and they don't really understand. And that's understandable. But the reality behind Halloween and voodoo, right? There are so-called demonic or evil aspects about both. But there's also positive aspects, good aspects about both. And it's just about the same with every religion, including Christianity, even though they don't want to admit it. Even in Christianity, you have God, right? Some of them call him Yahweh. Some of them call him Jehovah. Some of them call him Allah, whichever branch of Abrahamic religion that you belong to. And then you got the devil, Satan, right? You got that negative and you got that positive aspect, right? Which still is tied down to Christianity. So there's always going to be that positive and that negative aspect within every. You need both. You need positive energy and negative energy. You need it. You can't just have 100% just positive energy in the world. You need a balance. You got to have that balance. If things were just completely just perfect, things would go wrong. I even seen that in the Matrix movie. If anybody watched the very original Matrix movie, as a matter of fact, how about I just show you guys the clip?
People just living out their lives, oblivious. Did you know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world where none suffered, where everyone would be happy? And it was a disaster. No one would accept the program. Entire crops were lost. Some believed that we lacked the programming language to describe your perfect world, but I believe that as a species, human beings define their reality through misery and suffering. So the perfect world was a dream.
That clip, Agent Smith, and this is the going back to the point that I was getting ready to make about the balance between good and evil, right and wrong, whichever one you want to call it, positive, negative, right? This goes back to my point. And this is what artificial intelligence cannot comprehend completely on its own unless humans break it down for it. We have to break it down for artificial intelligence for it to understand better. On its own, it can't comprehend because artificial intelligence technology runs off of pure efficiency. It has one goal or it has multiple goals and it just goes all in on those goals, all in on its purpose that it's designed for. That's it. It's designed for perfection. And of course, technology can break down and it can become imperfect, but it runs off of perfection. AI, technology, it runs off of perfection as much as possible. That's what it runs off of. So it can't seem to understand why humans can't do the same. So Agent Smith, he's talking to Morpheus and he's saying, when the very first Matrix simulation was created, it was created to be perfect. So that way humans could live in perfection all day, every day, 24/7. But for some reason, they couldn't understand why it kept going wrong, why the simulation kept on breaking apart and the humans kept on waking up. They kept waking up from the simulation because they could already sense that something was off. By nature, they could sense it. That's why they kept waking up from the simulation. The simulation wouldn't keep them asleep because they could already tell, like, something's wrong with this. Because basically what the Matrix tried to do is it tried to do what we do with artificial intelligence and what we do with technology. We design technology to run off of perfection. The Matrix simulation tried to get humans to do the same thing when it doesn't understand that we don't operate like machines. We don't operate the exact same way as artificial intelligence. We don't just, no, we have free will. We have choice. We have emotions. So when we run off of emotions, we run off of free will, and we run off of imperfection, right? Because we have emotions. 1 minute we might be happy, the next minute we could be sad, and we run off of free will. You have to give us a choice. We have to have a choice. because we are conscious. We are self-aware. Artificial intelligence is not self-aware. It's not actually like legitimately conscious. It's just an artificial version of consciousness. It's not really self-aware. It doesn't have free will. It can't do what it wants. In the movie series The Matrix, Agent Smith eventually becomes a virus to where it kind of seems like he can do what he wants, but he still can't really truly do whatever he wants like humans can. When he becomes a virus and he somewhat unplugs from the Matrix, and technically he's no longer Agent Smith by the time the second movie comes around. If you pay attention to the movie, and if you remember, and if you watched the Matrix movie series, in the second movie, he's no longer Agent Smith anymore. He's just Smith. He's no longer an agent anymore because he becomes a virus. So it's like at that point he becomes a virus. Now he kind of starts like doing what he wants to do. You know what I'm saying? In a way, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? But the Matrix didn't understand that humans don't run off of the same way that technology runs. We don't run based off of that type of, stuff. We need free will. You can't just have us living in a perfect world. Like, you know what I'm saying? It don't work like that. It works like that with technology up to a degree. Technology runs based off of perfection, not humans. So once the Matrix caught on to that, it upgraded its system to where, okay, now the humans have free will. They're allowed to do what they want to do. Now they have a choice. We're not going to just put them in a perfect world. No, we're just going to place them in the world and let them do what they want to do. Let them rock out and do what they want to do the way it's supposed to go. And once they did that, then they realized, okay, this is the way to go. Now the humans are not waking up from their sleep. They're not waking up because they don't sense anything wrong. They feel like they're in the real world because they have the choice to do what they want to do. They're not being controlled. You know what I'm saying? They're not being controlled and put into this confinement of a perfect world, like, you know what I'm saying, Disneyland every day. It don't work like that, man. It don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Humans have to have free will. We have to have a choice to do what we want to do. We can't operate like robots. It just don't work like that for whatever reason. And that's just what it is. You know, which brings me back to the point that I was making. With every religion, you got the negative aspect, you got the positive aspect. And all it is a metaphor. It's really just metaphorical to you as an individual. You have that negative aspect of yourself, of consciousness, and you got the positive aspect of yourself. Y'all ever seen those movies or those cartoons where you'll see a character and it'll have the character will be thinking to themselves while they're trying to make a decision, and on one side of the shoulder they have an angel, and then on the other side of the shoulder they got a demon, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Because the devil, Satan, God, those are literally just they're one and the same. God and Satan is one in the same. It's a metaphor for you. You got the positive aspect of yourself. You got the negative aspect of yourself. And it's up to you to make a decision on which one you want to act on. Do you want to act on the godly version of you, or do you want to act on the devilish version of you? It's up to you. You know what I'm saying? Now, please believe we're not going to just be godly 100% of the time. It don't work like that, because we don't run off of perfection. So nobody's ever going to be able to accomplish that. You're going to slip up. It just, which one do you want to live out more? That's what it's really all about. If I'm being godly 75% of the time, and then I'm slipping up into my devilish ways 25% of the time, I'm saying, then it depends on what type of, it just all depends, you know what I'm saying? But it's all metaphorical. It's all just metaphors, man. You know? And when you catch on to it, you catch on to it. From the movie Child's Play. This is the original Child's Play movie. Classic movie. Classic. You know what I'm talking about? If any of y'all watched that movie and you remember this scene, the scene where Chucky goes to meet up with Dr. Death, which is the voodoo doctor who taught Chucky how to do voodoo. But when you pay attention to the clip, listen to what this man is telling Chucky.
It hurt. It hurt like a son of a bitch. It even bled. And why is that, John?
You're turning human.
What?
The more time you spend in that body, the more human you become.
You mean I have to live out the rest of my life in this body? No fucking way! You got me into this, you get me out.
I can't do that, Chucky.
Why not?
Because you're an abomination. An outrage against nature. You perverted everything I've taught you and used it for evil, and you have to be stopped.
So the voodoo doctor, the guy who taught Chucky how to do voodoo, what did he just tell Chucky? He just told Chucky that you are an abomination, you perverted everything I taught you, and you're using it for evil. So what is he telling you? I didn't teach you voodoo for evil. So Hollywood has participated in the demonization of voodoo. One of the most infamous movies that have done this and has been successful with doing it is Child's Play. The Chucky character, the Chucky doll. The real name of the movie is Child's Play. That's the real name of the movie, but the character is Chucky. But even in the original Child's Play movie, even in the movie, they're still literally telling you in the movie that voodoo is not necessarily evil. It's all about the individual. There's bad aspects, there's good aspects. It's all on the individual. It's all on the person. No different than when you open up your Bible. Everybody got a mind of their own, right? God created you with free will, right? You do what you want to do. And people can deny it. People can deny it all they want. They use Google. They use artificial intelligence for everything else that is that they want to learn or what it is that they want to know how to do, et cetera, et cetera. But they want to pick and choose. When it comes to other things that they just don't want to hear, then all of a sudden, they come up with every excuse in the book. But it's the reality. If you are of direct African descent and you bash or talk bad about voodoo, you are literally disrespecting a part of yourself, your heritage. If that's you and that's what you want to do and you're cool with that, then that's your business. But I have an African parent. I have a black parent. I'm black and I'm white. I'm mulatto. I'm biracial, whichever one you want to call me. So part of my heritage is Africa. My ancestors practiced voodoo. This is the culture that my ancestors come from. This is a part of my heritage. I'm not disrespecting. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect my heritage like that. Now, I might not believe in voodoo or voodoo, like literally every single aspect. I don't believe in it literally. Now, there's certain aspects of it, including every religion, that I agree with and that I rock and roll with. But we're not going to sit here, and I'm not going to sit here and disrespect my heritage and talk down on my heritage. Because that's what you're doing if you are African or of African descent. And even if you're not of African descent, come to find out, modern day science shows us that all human beings technically originated from African people. So one way or another, you still came from Africa. But if you're not a direct African descendant like I am, I'm a direct African descendant, so it would be even worse for me to do it. But if you're any type of other person, it's still disrespectful and ignorant for you to talk down on voodoo. Because it's not like an evil cult or anything. Like, actually do your research on things before you talk about it. Simple. Now, voodoo and Christianity are very, very similar to one another, and we're going to talk about that as well. Voodoo in itself already has Christian aspects within it due to the fact that the main aspects of voodoo originate from African spirituality and religion. But when our African ancestors were enslaved by Europeans, they were not allowed to practice their own culture. So the only reason why our ancestors were able to hold on to some aspects of their original culture is because they hid the fact that they were still holding on to it. They did it in secrecy. Okay? So that way the European slave master would not be aware of what they were doing. So they did it in secrecy, and they were very, very strategic and slick with it. And one of the ways they hid this away from the slave master was by basically incorporating European culture within their own culture and blending it together. And it kind of helped them. You know what I'm saying? But it's all in the presentation of these different religions. Christianity and voodoo, right? Very, very similar to one another. There's clearly similarities between the two spiritual systems or religions, whichever one you want to call it. And the reason why people can't see it and don't realize it is because of the presentation. People look at the presentation. Okay, when people look at the presentation of voodoo, they see things like this, what you see on the screen. They see skulls, they see death, basically. And of course, people are normally going to associate death with negativity, right? But death is just a part of it's a part of our physical. It's a part of this physical experience that we live in. This physical reality is just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they say sleep is the cousin of death. There's nothing wrong with sleep, is there? Is sleep negative? Is sleep a bad thing? No, we need sleep. We need rest. Just like when people die, they say rest in peace, right? All you're doing is sleeping. We experience death almost every night when you go to sleep, technically speaking, right? Because we're not our body. I mean, it's just my personal belief. We're not our body. And I have actual evidence to prove why I believe that we are not our body. We're actually just the essence that resides within the body, which is consciousness, or as what religion calls it, the soul, or what science calls it, consciousness, energy. And that's literally what we are. We're just consciousness residing inside of a body or an avatar, right? And when our physical body dies off and decays off, we just enter into a permanent sleep. And when we sleep, what do? We dream. Most of the time, we don't remember our dreams. The only time we really remember our dreams is when we have lucid dreams. When we have a lucid dream, that's when we wake up and we remember everything that happened. But most of the time, as soon as you wake up, you forget everything. You forget everything that happened when you were in the subconscious. When you were in the subconscious, you were dreaming up a storm. You know what I'm saying? You were not gone. You just were not in this world. You were somewhere else. You wake up back into this reality and you forget everything that happened. Unless you have a lucid dream. Most of the time, I don't really have lucid dreams. I only have lucid dreams once in a blue moon. And I'll wake up and I'll remember. Right? It's all in the presentation, though. When people look at voodoo, this is the type of presentation they get. So it's understandable why people will look at it and just automatically assume evil, demonic, death. Understandable, because people are just automatically just looking at, and you know what they say, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. Isn't that a real quote? Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge something by its cover. You got to open it up. You got to open the book up and read it through. So people just look at the presentation. They look at the presentation of this. And then people look at the presentation of your typical Christian church. Right? You see the presentation, right? So, of course, it's understandable why you would look at the first presentation of what voodoo presented to you at face value, and then look at what the Christian church, on average, is presenting to you at face value. You go into a Christian church, you see white doves, you see these angels, you see these people dressed in their nice suits, and people got nice button-ups on and suits on and polos on and nice clothes, and it looks, business type of clothing. Everything looks nice and neat, and look at it. You see people smiling, and so at face value, understandable, especially through the lens of our mindsets and the mindsets that we have in the Western world. Understandable why at face value you would look at the first presentation and then you would look at this presentation. And then look at this presentation. And then look at this presentation. And then look at this one. Understandable. I get it. It makes sense. But like I said, can't always just completely judge a book by its cover. You still got to open up the book and read it through. You can judge a book somewhat by its cover. You can to a degree. But you still got to open it up to really, really actually get a detailed understanding. You can only figure out and find out so much just by looking at a cover. You still got to open it up. Now, when you really study the roots of Halloween, you would understand that most likely it would lead back to a pagan ritual called Samhain, which is a European Celtic, if I'm not mistaken, pagan ritual. So if you are of, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if you are of Irish or Scottish or like Celtic type of descent, then your direct ancestry would trace back to the people that practiced the original roots of Halloween. Right? I have a little bit of Irish in me. Like a little bit. I think most of my European, if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go back and look at it. I think most of my European ancestry might be from the French. I don't know. I have to go back and look at it again. I know it's Germanic, I think. And Germanic could be a multitude of different. France is included. But I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at my DNA results again. And I do have some Scottish DNA as well. And I think both the Irish and Scottish, if I'm not mistaken, are both part of the Celtic. If I'm not, I have to go back and fact check that. But let me read this meme, though. I didn't make this meme. I found it, but the information sounds pretty accurate. It says that the pagan Samhain is not and never was associated with evil or negativity. Right? And this aligns with basically what I'm talking about now as far as voodoo goes. Now, voodoo does have some negative aspects within it, but the overall message behind voodoo is not about negativity or evil, or that's not the main message behind voodoo. It's just been flipped around, and people, a certain demographic of people, have associated voodoo with evil and negativity, even though the core message behind voodoo is not about that. That's not what it teaches. That's not what it's about. Right? But people have spreaded propaganda to try to make it seem as though that's what voodoo is about, and that's what its main message and core is about, when that's not true. Same thing with Halloween and the roots of Halloween, which is Samhain. Samhain is not and never was associated with evil or negativity. It has always been a time to reaffirm our belief in the oneness of all spirits and in our firm resolution that physical death is not the final act of existence. This is basically exactly what I was just kind of talking about, wasn't it? And I'm just now finding this meme. And it's funny how this meme is literally like breaking down exactly the things that I was just talking about, literally. And I just found this meme. So that's kind of funny. Physical death is not the final act of existence. So death is very much a part of... But even when we look at Christianity, right? When we look at the Bible, when we look at the Abrahamic religions, and the Abrahamic religions would all be Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they all fall under that branch of Abrahamic religions, whether they want to admit it or not, whether they like it or not. And I know Christians, like a lot of Christians, not all, but a lot of them like to bash Judaism and Islam, even though according to their Bible, Jesus was a Jew. He was a part of Judaism. The Hebrew Israelites were the Jews, not the Christians. In the Bible, God's people were Jews. God's chosen people were Jews, not Christians. So that's the hilarious part. But, whatever. I'm not here to bash people or here to knock people or here to, people going to believe in whatever they're going to believe in. I'm just spitting the facts. These are the facts. But when we look at Christianity as we know it today, they also have death on display. We can see it. We look at any cemetery in the United States of America. When you look at the architecture of any funeral home. Funeral homes, a lot of times, they look just like a church. Sometimes I'll walk by a funeral home, I damn near thought that was a church. You go up, you look at it, look at the whole structure behind it, the architecture behind it. When you see people at a funeral home, you usually see them dressed in what? Suits and ties, business, the same type of clothing you would see people wearing at church. The only difference is that at church, you might see more brighter colors. At a funeral home, people normally got on darker colors, black. At church, you see people with dark colors on, but you also see people with a variety of other different types of shades of colors going on, a lot of more brightness going on. But of course, when you're dealing with death, people feel sad, they feel more down, so they're going to be wearing black, they're going to be wearing darker colors. Right, duh. But when we look at any funeral home, we look at any grave site in America at this point, at this particular moment, pretty much 99.9% of them that I've seen, I see a lot of Christian aspects within it. Look at it. I don't see any voodoo going on here. I don't see any type of voodoo inspiration here. We look at this. You can see the crucifix right there with Jesus on the cross dying. What? And then what? He rose from the dead. Right? That sounds like some voodoo type of stuff to me. Right? Very, very, very similar, ain't it? We're dealing with the honor of the dead here, right? That's what this is, correct? This is the honor of the dead, remembering the dead, which they're not really dead, but their physical bodies are no longer with us. The remains of those physical bodies are just bones, skeletons in the dirt. But the essence of that person is somewhere else now. But we're honoring them and remembering them in the physical realm of this world. And that is one aspect of Christianity. Come to think of it, that might just be an aspect of every major world religion, right? As it should be. Because that's a part of our existence. That's a part of the reality that we live in. But then I've seen a lot of people in the so-called conscious community, they say death is an illusion, and they're also correct. It's just your physical body, the physical avatar that you reside in, right? And I mean, that's just really like facts. Like you can even break down the science behind it. We ain't got to deal with the spooky stuff. We can go into modern day science, right? And it all points to what I just said. when we're dealing with quantum physics and things of that sort. You know, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not here to just break things down. People got to do their own research at the end of the day. I point people in the right direction, and it's up to them to go, you know, finish researching the information that I give you. And it's up to you to fact check everything and come to a conclusion on your own. You don't have to agree. A lot of people, I'm pretty sure there's a few different people watch my platform that don't agree with some of the things I say, and that's okay. I feel like you're ignorant, you know, and you can feel like I'm ignorant. You know, at the end of the day, it's all opinions. Some of the things that I say is really not opinion. It's really just fact. And I'm not even here to debate with anybody over it. You can just not accept it, and you can feel like it's an opinion when it's really a fact. Because I know the difference between facts and opinions, you know, and I don't care what you believe in. If it goes against the facts, that's just what it is. You can be, you know, you can get mad at me or be mad at yourself. Like, I don't know, man. But what I'm saying is all reality. It just is what it is. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this video off here. Like I said, this was going to be like my grand finale video, right? I done basically said what I needed to say already. I was going to do a whole lot more with this video, but I just got so many things going on, and I'd rather just get this video done, out the way, over with, say what I got to say, express my opinions and facts, you know, say what I got to say, speak my mind, put it out there, and leave it at that, you know. But I'm going to be taking a break from this channel. Ladies and gentlemen. I actually have another channel. It is a self-improvement documentary channel. If you're interested in that channel, I will be working on that channel for the remainder of 2025. 2026, I should be back on this channel for a brief moment, and I'll come back with some content, maybe even like at the end, before the year is over with. I don't know. A couple months from now, I'll be back, a few months or so. I'm going to be on my main channel, my self-improvement documentary channel in the meantime. If you're interested, if you're not, that's fine too. Yeah, but if you are, you can go and check me out over there. I got some things going on over there. And in general, I'm kind of going to be falling back from the internet for a little while. I'm not going to be on social media as much, scrolling on the internet as much. But I will be working on my self-improvement documentary for the remainder of the year. For sure, I'm going to close out the year strong. Absolutely. So, with that being said, I said what I had to say. Take it for how you want. You don't got to agree with it. Or if you do agree with it, cool, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, you know, you really shouldn't have even watched the video in the first place if you didn't agree. You already knew what was going to happen. So I'm going to be on my main channel, my self-improvement documentary channel, for the remainder of the year. I will no longer be on my Creole culture channel for the remainder of this year for the most part. Won't be uploading any content pretty much. So I'm going to be over here. And I will be cross-promoting my channels on both channels, right? Everything's going to be tied in. My whole entire platform is going to be all tied in and connected with one another. I see that as the most strategic, most logical thing to do in order to grow my platform as much as I possibly can, link everything together. So with that being said, I'm out.